Hi, Mark Farmer, Life Success Engine. We're going to try something new and actually go live on the channel. We'll see how this works out. If you would do me a favor, if you like today's content, if you would like underneath, and if you'll pitch in a comment, it would be nice to see some comments here. And if you'll subscribe to the channel, it would be awesome. So people that have been listening to me or reading some of the content, listening to some of the content that I've put up on Life Success Engine will say, oh, we're back on that again. Perceptions, the difference between perception and reality, and in particular, mistaken certainties. This is a big one for me. The things that I talk about oftentimes are things that are going on right now in my life. And so I've had three, at least maybe four, good examples of mistaken certainties in the last several days that continue to hammer home. This is always a fascination for me, the difference between perception and reality, and in particular, mistaken certainties. These things that we are so sure of, so confident of, that we don't even need to question. We simply move on with our life knowing, air quotes, that's the way that it works. And so we never try anything different, and we never experience what doing things a different way would happen. And that's a rough one, because they become self-fulfilling prophecies in some sense. And I'll hit the easy one to talk about is my mom. My mother is dealing with toothache that was severe. She needed to get in to see a dentist. My mom has some other health maladies, one of which is that she is on dialysis, and so needs to be careful what she takes into her body because of the way that her body processes that. But so last night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call. She is in extreme pain regarding her tooth. She has taken acetaminophen, and it's not helping. Well, a well-known technique that I learned when my daughter was young is that you can leapfrog acetaminophen and Motrin, the two different ingredients. And again, this isn't medical advice. You should check with your own doctor. But the advice that I was given was that for severe pain that just isn't going away and that you can't do anything about, that you can leapfrog it. You take the recommended dosage of acetaminophen, and then 2 or 3 hours later, you take the recommended dosage of Motrin. And because these two drugs interact with your body in different ways, they can add to the pain relief without poisoning your body. My mom's instant response: no, I'm not allowed to take Motrin. All right, well, that's the deal. I'm so sorry to hear that. I guess you just have to endure the pain. Flash forward this morning, she gives me a call. She's in a much better space. She's happy because number one, she got into a doctor, but number two, her doctor let her know that what she should do to alleviate pain like that is she should leapfrog acetaminophen and Motrin. I said, Mom, that's where I was going last night. I couldn't even finish the sentence because the minute I asked, do you have any Motrin on hand, the instant answer was, I'm not allowed to take Motrin. All right, well, that ends that conversation right there. I didn't even get as far as saying, you can leapfrog this, because it was her mistaken certainty that she wasn't allowed to take Motrin. A second very recent example is I'm dealing with a client that is dealing with an area of administrative law restrictions put on the government and how businesses do things. And this is a really popular area. I deal with this with a lot. I dealt with this in my former position, working in healthcare. I deal with a lot of providers now, and so this is an area that I know a lot about. And there's a lot of advice. There's a lot of businesses that sell advice regarding this area. The problem is they're non-attorneys that are providing advice. They oftentimes are ignorant, and I don't mean that insultingly, although to me it's insulting for you to pretend that you're selling advice, but be giving bad advice. But they're flat ass wrong, the advice that they oftentimes provide. But the providers that sell, the businesses who sell this are so adamant that that's what it is. And this area of law is so complex that oftentimes people begin to get mistaken certainties about how this law works because they've heard so often from other people this is the way that it works. Folks, these mistaken certainties, they foreclose on your ability to take alternative action, to do things a different way. It begins to mold your future. And all of us have mistaken certainties. And I think that part of the takeaway is to be aware of the fact that there's a difference between reality and perception. When we are dealing with how things work, particularly from somebody explaining to us how things work and us understanding how things work, there are a number of different levels. There is what the person explaining, telling us how things work, their understanding. Then there is their level of communication. And because the communication might not adequately explain their understanding. They might mistakenly use the wrong word or not explain it very well, or they might get distracted. So there's their understanding. There is their communication. Then there is our ability to have heard it. Maybe traffic is going by, or we weren't listening that close, or we were distracted, or we don't know what the word meant, and so we guess what it meant. And then there's our own understanding. We're talking about 4 different levels that describing or working with reality ends up going through. And there's a larger, if we were drawing this in a Venn diagram, the smaller diagram would be, the person's understanding, somewhat overlapping that. Where's my camera? There. Somewhat overlapping that is their ability to describe it. Somewhere overlapping that is going to be our ability. I'm looking to try to show that there. Somewhere there is our ability to, that little space in the middle, that's the ability that overlaps, is our ability to understand, is to hear that. And then the final Venn diagram is our ability to comprehend that. It's almost like a game of telephone, child's game of telephone, that what started off might not even be what is understood. And there's a larger aspect encompassing those 4 smaller circles, overlapping circles of understanding, communication, a reception, and understanding, is the larger reality. Reality is larger than perception. Now, I'm not a big believer in what you believe and what you can conceive and what you believe you can achieve. Success is mechanical, and this is a message that I will drive home constantly. Even if you don't believe that you can lose 10 pounds, if you eat less calories than you expend each day, you'll lose 10 pounds. I'm sorry, that's just the way that it works. There's no such thing as some perpetual calories that you can not eat anything and you'll still gain weight. It just doesn't happen. And that's with every success. That's with building a strong relationship. That is with building $1 million business. That is with losing weight or getting in. That's with running a marathon. That is with everything. Success is mechanical. If you take the steps that lead you to the success, even if you don't believe that you're capable of losing 10 pounds, even if you don't believe you're capable of building the $1 million business, you can too succeed. So that it isn't that you have to believe it to achieve it. But if you believe that you can't, then oftentimes that will shut down on your willingness to take that action. And so we begin confining ourselves to self-fulfilling prophecies based off of what we believe because we're not willing to take the mechanical actions that would be required to take success. Be aware of your mistaken certainties. Allow that maybe there's something that you don't know. Ask the person to prove it, or be willing to take a chance yourself, dive in and take the action and see what happens. But today's message is about be careful what you are confident you know, because there's probably a lot more to it. All right, that is Life Success Engine for today. Again, if you would subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. I'll talk with you later. Bye.